Hey guys, SweetBananaGaming here, coach of your Orlando Solgaleo, here with my team prep for our Week 1 battle of PGBL Season 2 against the Camden Ursarings. Now, when I first did my draft analysis video, I was going off of the draft sheet, and at the time there was a misprint, and the Camden Ursarings were written as the Newark Ursarings. I didn't catch that at the time. I didn't know about it at the time, so that was incorrect. I did a little annotation during that video, so apologies to Chance there, but we are going to face the Camden Ursarings in our Week 1 battle. Just a little bit of a note, even though you guys probably won't really notice this because this is still going up right before when the battle goes up. All these battles are being recorded a week in advance this season, as opposed to last time where we kind of recorded them and uploaded them week of. And I kind of understand that because that resulted in some little bit of an issue sometimes when scheduling had a problem and things that went up late and blah blah blah. Of course, some of my videos are going to be recorded a month in advance. My January videos are, if I can help it, because I'm going to be out of town January. You guys know that. So and we'll have a lot of videos that are recorded well in advance, so it'll kind of screw up the trying to keep track of the records. But you know, once I'm back and all the videos are current, I'll go back in and update that. But anyway, for now, let's go down our little recap of what my team setup is going to be for the Camden Ursarings. Of course, the first thing I want to go over is the major threats of this team, what I think he's most likely to bring. And let me start out with the kind of the big obvious thing here is that this man has drafted 4 fairies on his team. I can't say that was exactly in response to my Naganadel draft, since Naganadel is part poison, but the Mega Gardevoir is a good counter for it, and just having so many fairies means that I can't really rely on a Devastating Drake to do massive damage. Like, my hardest hitting move on Naganadel would be the Z Draco Meteor Devastating Drake, but having 4 fairies, so in other words, having a good chance that he'll have, I predict he'll have 2 of his fairies, if not 3, of his 4 fairies. I don't think he'd bring all 4, because that would just be too much type weakness. It would be easy for me to make up for that, and not to mention Naganadel is poison as well, but I could see him bringing 2 or 3 of those fairies, so it leaves me not safe to run Dragonium Z, in my opinion, on Naganadel. Now, if he only brings the Mega Gardevoir as his only fairy, then it's not so bad, because I just have to make sure the Mega Gardevoir is gone. But I have a sneaking suspicion. I mean, most likely he has to bring his Mega Gardevoir. It's a good check to my Naganadel, because if I'm not boosted, I can't one-shot. Other than I'm running Poisonium Z, so if I happen to get that off, then that one-shots it, but other than that, I have to boost with a Nasty Plot in order to get in one-hit KO range for, in fact, a lot of these Pokemon. So the Mega Gardevoir is actually a decent check to my Naganadel, so I would imagine him bringing that. Imagine him bringing the Togekiss, because it's generally a bulky Pokemon. It's also a good check for Absol, and it's got what's it got? Access to Defog, of course. It has Aura Sphere just as option. I guess you don't really need Aura Sphere when you're running Fairy-type moves, but it can Toxic Stall, all those kinds of things. So I can definitely see him bringing Togekiss. I don't think he needs to bring Ribombee when he has Togekiss for Defog, and Ribombee's kind of frail, and I don't think he'll want to risk... Like, Ribombee can only do... Well, like, it's fast. It'll only start being a threat if it can set up some Quiver Dances, and I don't think there's anything on my team that he can afford to set up on. Maybe, I mean, like Slowbro or something, I guess, but I think a majority of my team is very offensive, so he can't afford to set up, so I don't think he'll bring the Ribombee. He could bring the Tapu Koko just because it does a large amount of damage. At the same time, it's not... I don't know. I was debating. I'm gonna go over what I'm running on my Pokemon, and I was debating running Silvally as ground type, but I'll explain why I'm not in a moment. But the Tapu Koko could be a threat, but running through my mind, I think it's less likely that he'll bring the Tapu Koko, because I'm 99% sure he'll bring the Mega Gardevoir. I'm fairly sure he'll bring the Togekiss, and I think if he brings Mega Gardevoir and Togekiss that he won't also bring Tapu Koko, because that's just 3 huge poison weaknesses. If I get even 1 speed boost up on Naganadel, I'm outspeeding the Tapu Koko if it's not Scarfed, and I mean, I guess Tapu Koko could probably KO me with an Electric Surge boosted Thunderbolt, but if I'm outspeeding it, at that point, I just need a regular Sludge Wave, not even boosted. I should be able to take it out pretty easily. So anyway, that's why I'm thinking Mega Gardevoir, Tapu Koko, or Togekiss. He will probably bring 2 out of the 3 of them, but probably not all 3. And I would put, I don't know, Tapu Koko is a really hard hitter. He might bring it anyway, but if I had to put money on it, I would guess the Togekiss over the Tapu Koko just because it offers a little bit more utility in this situation. But I do have to keep the Tapu Koko in mind. But I do have some answers to it. I mean, Naganadel is my main answer to it, but I have, like, ways to make sure that Naganadel can, like, get in there and do things. As far as other things that are generally wall most of my team, Nidoqueen, because I'm not bringing Slowbro, and I'll go over that too, but Nidoqueen could kind of wall most of my team, so I have to keep that in mind, but I do have some, I do have ways to handle it. It is, oh, I forgot to set up who are the Z users on his team. I was gonna put Z crystals behind them, but Tapu Koko and Nidoqueen are his Z users. Not that he can't bring both of them, but like that's another reason I feel like Tapu Koko might not come, because he would probably... Nidoqueen is a good check to Naganadel, actually completely walls me until I get boosted. And sorry, I'm adjusting my sleeves there. They're a little big, so I tried to fold them up, but they keep sliding down. Anyway, on to, let's see. The Nidoqueen is one of the things I'm a little bit concerned about, not because it's all that threatening. I mean, type advantage-wise, I am bringing a total of 3 ground weaknesses, which is something I'm a little nervous about, but I feel like I have enough answers so that if the Nidoqueen gets a KO on me, I can switch into something better and handle it. As long as I don't have to 1v1 Nidoqueen, like if it's not my last Pokemon against Nidoqueen, if I have more than one option to face it, I think I'll be okay. I have to keep that in mind. It's a Z-move user. It's not that threatening as a Z-move user, but under the proper circumstances, it could get a free KO on me, so I have to be aware of that. So, again, thinking his most likely team, I'm thinking Mega Gardevoir, Togekiss, Nidoqueen, and then probably Ferrothorn, because, again, it does well against most of my team. In fact, the only thing I really have for it, guaranteed good damage, is Fire Blast. And even then, depending on the build, if I'm not boosted, if I get a low roll, I might not take out the Ferrothorn, depending on what kind of build he's running. Usually Ferrothorn run a physical build, but he could plan for that, plan for the Naganadel, knowing that that's the main thing, and run special. But then again, I'm not bringing the Blaziken, but he would have to plan for the Blaziken, so maybe he'd run full physical. I'm not sure. But anyway, those are the 4 Pokemon that I think he's most, or 3 Pokemon? I'm looking at his list over here. I think those are the 4 Pokemon that I think he's most likely to bring. As for the rest of them, I want to say Tentacruel. He might do some, like, as a rapid spinner, I guess is the main thing. But if you've already got Togekiss as a defog user, he doesn't need Tentacruel as the rapid spinner, but also it's a special wall. It kind of walls Naganadel, so depending on how concerned with Naganadel he is, I could see him bringing that as well. Rotom Heat could be another option. If he predicts that I have the Steel-type Silvally, he could run that for that. Run it for my Galvantula. And again, it depends if he could run an offensive set or a Bulhy set. It's one of those Pokemon that's a little bit more difficult for Naganadel to one-shot. I've been focusing a lot on Naganadel and what it can do, because I do think most of my opponents, when they're planning their battle strategies, they're going to be focused mostly on Naganadel, which is why in the back of my mind, I'm pretty concerned about Nidoqueen, but and a little bit about Tapu Koko, but really in every other case, I have sort of a backup plan to run around, like, for supporting Naganadel. I don't want to have every single battle just be like, oh hey, we're supporting Naganadel, but only to the extent that I think that most of my opponents will have to plan to deal with Naganadel, so I have to plan counters to their counters. So let me get into my specific sets on these Pokemon. So let's go one by one here. And we're going to start with the Mega Absol, which I'm bringing, which is actually going to be an excellent support against Mega Gardevoir. I discovered, just chatting around in Discord, that thanks to some of the new Move Tutor moves, Mega Absol gets access to Throat Chop now, which is excellent, because let's say I'm in a 1v1 situation, I send out the Absol and he sends out the Mega Gardevoir. I mean, all he needs is to click. Now, if he runs Moonblast, this strategy will totally backfire on me, but if he doesn't anticipate the Throat Chop, there's no reason for him not to run the more powerful Hyper Voice that can go through Substitute. I mean, I guess Hyper Voice and Moonblast, I believe they're the same base power, actually, but having the sound to be able to go through Substitute is... I feel like he'd more likely run the Pixelate. Oh, well, actually, no. Pixelate Hyper Voice would be more powerful because you get an additional boost from Pixelate moves. So, yeah, he'd have no reason, unless he's suspecting Throat Chop, which I kind of doubt. But I don't want to underestimate him. I just kind of doubt, like, not too many people, I think, are thinking in terms of move tutors yet, but we'll see. So, I feel like if I'm gonna 1v1 the Gardevoir with Absol, I outspeed it guaranteed, and I just go for the Throat Chop and incapacitate it with the Hyper Voice. Then from that point on, he's either going to switch or try to go for Focus Blast, at which point I think I'm free to set up a substitute, and depending on what happens there, I can either finish off the Gardevoir if it breaks my sub, or set up a Swords Dance and then be in a really good situation to do a lot of damage, depending on what the rest of his team is. I would still have a hard time with Togekiss. I would still have a if he brings the Ribombee, I would still have a hard time with Tapu Koko because I'm not running anything other than Dark-type moves on here. But if he's gonna switch, I could just use Knockoff and pretty much take anything out, because once I hit Throat Chop on the Gardevoir, that's enough in and of itself to almost be a one-hit KO. Like, does from 75 to 88% or something crazy like that. So the Gardevoir will, at that point, pretty much be death fodder. Like I could set up the substitute during his one more turn where he can't use Hyper Voice, and then see what he does if he goes Focus Blast and lands it, if he goes another move and lands it, or if he swaps. And then depending on the situation, like I said, I'll get a free Swords Dance, and I'll be in pretty good shape. Now, that leads me to think that Absol could be a good choice for a lead, but I think I'm gonna lead with Galvantula, and I'll get to that in a moment as well. But this is pretty much my thought here with Mega Absol. I could also, it's also having, again, a Magic Bouncer. If Absol has Mega Evolved, it would be nice because it'll make him have to think twice about setting up hazards on me. In fact, Mega Absol could be a good thing to face off against the Ferrothorn, because if I lead Absol and he leads Ferrothorn, and he will probably switch out. Maybe he'll try to attack me, but I should be pretty good to get a substitute off. Then I could get an easy, depending on who he switches to, I could get an easy Swords Dance. So I don't know. Maybe Mega Absol is the best lead, but that's just one option. It depends on the makeup of his team and what he brings. I guess I'll have to decide in the moment. But moving on to the next thing, we're going back to the Naganadel. The Naganadel is, again, running probably one of the most common sets you're going to see on a Naganadel, because it works, what I've seen. It covers as many of bases of Naganadel as you pretty much can. The only thing it doesn't really cover is ground types, but usually a Draco Meteor could take care of that. Sludge Wave can one-shot, should be able to one-shot the Tapu Koko. I think Fire Blast should one-hit KO the Ferrothorn. There might be a slim chance if I get the lowest roll possible, depending on how much special defense investment he has. The Sludge Wave unfortunately has to be a high roll to one-hit KO Mega Gardevoir, so I don't want to do that unless I'm boosted. That's why I ran the Poisonium Z. Again, I'm gonna, like I explained before, having 4 fairies that he could potentially bring. I mean, there's a chance he only brings a Mega Gardevoir, and then maybe it wouldn't have been so bad to have the Dragonium Z, but I don't want to take that chance. On the off chance he brings all 4 fairies, the Dragonium Z is going to be basically useless. Like, I wouldn't want to run the risk of having to use that move at the wrong time. So I'm going to run the Poisonium Z. He has 1 poison immunity in the Ferrothorn, but apart from that, I don't know, unless he makes a really bold prediction, I don't know that he would switch in if he knows that I get access to Fire Blast. I'm not sure exactly what it would do, but then the Nasty Plot's there. If I end up in a good situation, in fact, if I'm 1v1ing the Ferrothorn, I mean, he can go for a Leech Seed on me, but even if he gets the Leech Seed on me, if I set up a Nasty Plot, that's more or less game. I mean, I could get really unlucky with Fire Blast, but if I set up a Nasty Plot, I pretty much sweep from there. I mean, again, the Nidoqueen and the Tentacruel could still kind of wall me, but I could at the very least go for a Draco Meteor to get some big damage. If the Nidoqueen or the Tentacruel switch in on me, I would probably switch out and try to come back later, but other than that, being +2, I can pretty much take on anything. The Draco Meteor at +2 would one-hit KO Nidoqueen. I haven't done the calc on the Tentacruel. I don't think it would because Tentacruel is especially bulky, but just about anything else, Draco Meteor wouldn't hit KO, except for his fairies, of course, which is why I had the Sludge Wave to run. And then Sludge Wave at +2 is KOing all the fairies in one shot. I didn't run the calc on Togekiss for Sludge Wave, but I'm pretty sure. But if I go for the Z move, it could almost one-shot a Rotom Heat if it gets a medium to high roll. It could it'll definitely one-hit KO the Togekiss and the Mega Gardevoir, the Z move. If the Togekiss is full special investment, there's a chance that it might live. But again, if I'm boosted before I use my Z move, then all bets are off. I don't even really need to use my Z move on the fairies if I'm +2, but for someone else, it could be good. All right, so standard Naganadel set, and it's very easy to get a sweep going with Naganadel. If you manage to get a Nasty Plot boost and then take something out, I'm running Timid, so max speed, and you're gonna just get speed boost and be able to sweep pretty well. Let's go into Silvally. Now let me explain here, my first instinct was to run ground type Silvally for Nidoqueen and Tapu Koko, but I still don't 1v1 Tapu Koko super well. I mean, Tapu Koko's scariest thing he gets access to is Dazzling Gleam that could hit a ground type. So it's not too bad, unless he's running a physical set with Brave Bird. But again, it's not Stab. But I thought about running ground type, and it would have been good for the Nidoqueen, but I just wanted to have another steel option for all those fairies. Again, Tapu Koko, aside from Tapu Koko, I should still, even though a multi-attack, a steel-type multi-attack will be neutral on Tapu Koko, I need to do the calc again, but it should still do a good amount of damage, and my multi-attack can one-hit KO Mega Gardevoir, so I do run the risk of it outspeeding me, because it is a little bit faster. If he runs Timid and Not Modest on his Mega Gardevoir, it will outspeed me and it can go for a Focus Blast. Now, if it misses Focus Blast, then I get an easy one-hit KO. If it doesn't miss, then I'm definitely gone. So the strategy coming in here is, it's kind of why I want to get my webs up with Galvantula, which is kind of why I think I want to lead Galvantula instead of leading Mega Absol, although Mega Absol has a lot of good possibilities. But if the Ferrothorn is around and the Nidoqueen and, you know, things that kind of wall the Mega Absol a little bit more, I think I'd rather lead Galvantula and get my webs up. And I'll get to Galvantula in a moment. But then I've got Rock Slide as, I mean, it's another option for Togekiss, but it's mainly there for Rotom Heat. If the Rotom Heat is running an offensive set, then I should be guaranteed a 2-hit KO on it, which is, it's good. And I should outspeed it, so I have, you know, those scumbag flinch chances. And then running Parting Shot for pivot potential and debuffing potential. Again, could be for the Nidoqueen. I could run it for the Nidoqueen. And Swords Dance, if I get a positive, if I get a favorable matchup. I'm trying to think who... Maybe against the Tentacruel, it would be a favorable matchup, and I'd set up a Swords Dance. So, again, just some options there. I'm debating, I'm still now debating going back to Ground type on Solgaleo, but Ground type with Iron Head doesn't give me the power that I need. But come to think of it, the way I'm running with Clefairy, I'm running Clefairy here, my Clefable, with Calm Mind, Stealth Rock, Moonlight, and Stored Power, running Calm as an option. Your EVs are not totally set, are they? There we go. So I'm running this set, Calm with max HP, max special defense, and this is as a switch-in option to the Mega Gardevoir, and special Tapu Koko I should deal alright with. And this is a mainly a stored power, a Calm Mind stored power abuser. There's no dark types on this team, so I can kind of afford to get rid of the Moonblast slot for Stealth Rock. And the reason I wanted Stealth Rock was there were so many things on my opponent's team that if I'm not boosted with my Pokemon, like Solgaleo and Naganadel, and we'll see Lycanroc later, if I'm not boosted, I kind of just miss the KO by a little percentage, in a lot of cases less than 10%. So if I can get the rocks up, then that would alleviate all of those problems. And in fact, if I have the rocks up, then I could run Ground type Solgaleo. The only other thing that would be a problem is if I happen to get rocks up and not web, and I run the Ground type Solgaleo, then Mega Gardevoir I think has a chance to KO me with Hyper Voice on the Solgaleo. Again, now that I have a good strategy with the Throat Chop Absol for the Mega Gardevoir, I might be more inclined to not worry about having Solgaleo have to handle the Gardevoir and make it Ground type instead. But then again, I'm a little concerned about if the strategy fails somehow, or like not having all my bases covered, but which is why I'm a little bit nervous about the Nidoqueen as well. I'll run a few more different calcs on Solgaleo before I make my final decision on what I'm going to run. But anyway, back to Clefable. This was unaware, but I decided to make it Magic Guard instead. If I get 1v1 versus Togekiss, and I mean, more likely Togekiss is packing Thunder Wave, but if it's packing Toxic, just to deal with statuses, even if Rotom Heat decides to burn, or I could switch in on a Will-O-Wisp, let's say, and not have to take any damage from it. So those are some possibilities. But that's about it. Mostly set the rocks, and then to potentially do a Calm Mind stored power abuse there, and just to kind of take a special hit. So next is the Galvantula, what I'm most likely to lead with. And this moveset, actually, I wanted to change this out for Protect, because what I'm about to explain. I believe it's 3 of my opponent's Pokemon, those being the Mega Gardevoir, the Togekiss, and the Tentacruel, have access now through Ultra Sun and Moon move tutors to, what's it called, Magic Coat, which effectively gives you I don't know if it's 1 turn or how many turns it lasts, but it effectively gives you a Magic Bounce effect. So if I'm going to go for, and Magic Guard, I think, or Magic Coat, I think has priority too, so the fact that Galvantula is faster than all those Pokemon won't matter. So if they put up the Magic Coat and I go for a Sticky Web, I'll get it bounced back at me, which would be very bad, since we're already kind of close in speed on a couple of his main hitters anyway. I need the Sticky Web to be on his side, not on my side. So let's say turn 1, I lead Galvantula, and he leads one of those 3 Pokemon we talked about. So I'll use that turn to Protect instead to Scout, and if the magic coat goes up, which I think it does last for a certain amount of turns, if the magic coat does come up, then depending on who he chooses, I will either Thunder or Electro Web just to lower speed, and then get out of there. I was debating whether to replace Thunder or Volt Switch for Protect, but given that he has that ground type in Nidoqueen, I don't want my Volt Switch to be blocked potentially, so if I want to switch, I just want a hard switch. Not always the most positive thing, but like, if I have to protect, then I want to maybe preserve my Sash. Maybe I'll just hard switch out and not take any chances with that. And that's the idea. Then, if he leads anything that's not one of those 3 Pokemon, I will just go for the webs right away. Now, there's a decent chance that he might not think to put Magic Coat on, because how often do you think about using Magic Coat? I mean, maybe some people do, but I certainly, it didn't occur to me until, again, having discussions in Discord, it came up. I'm like, oh, yeah, Magic Coat is a thing, and 3 of his Pokemon get it, and 2 or 3 of them being Pokemon I think that he would bring. So it's something to keep in mind. So that's why Protect is there. I get a free turn. I mean, the only way it works out poorly is if he sets up on me, or if he decides to switch, then he kind of gets a free switch. But it's not the worst thing in the world, and who does he even have other than Rabombi? I don't think he has anybody who really can abuse setup too much. Ursaring, I guess, but I don't know whether he'd bring Ursaring, other than the fact that he gets a pretty strong Earthquake. So Ursaring might be another option to appear. If he doesn't bring Tentacruel, he might bring Ursaring. There's an option, or if he doesn't bring Tapu Koko, maybe. Again, the ones that I'm almost positive that he'll bring are Mega Gardevoir, Togekiss, Nidoqueen, and Ferrothorn, and then the other 2, I guess, could be Tapu Koko, Tentacruel, Rotom Heat, or Ursaring. Those would be my most likely candidates for the last 2 slots. But anyway, this is Fuzzy Wuzzy's set here. Now, if I did get the Sticky Web up, and Nidoqueen isn't out, or can come out, and I'm pretty much done with Galvantula. Now, Galvantula can 2-hit KO Togekiss with Compound Ice Thunder, which is nice. So if he sends in Togekiss to get rid of the webs, then that's always an option. But if I'm feeling like, okay, you know, I don't really need Galvantula anymore, I just go in and spam Electro Web to lower the speed of whatever it is, and then that could make a difference. If I use it on, like, Tapu Koko, that could make a difference for, then for Naganadel to come in and outspeed it. It could bring, could give Silvally what it needs, maybe to outspeed the Gardevoir, depending on what he has out. So that gives me a few options to abuse. I mean, I'm not too thrilled having only Electro-type moves to attack with when he has a Ground type, but I think this is a solid strategy, a solid way to run Galvantula for this particular team. Anyway, let's move on. We're getting a little long-winded here, so let's move on to the final Pokemon. We have Lycanroc Dusk running a very offensive set with Focus Sash, Accelerock, Stone Edge, Drill Run, and Swords Dance. So depending on who, depending on the speeds of everybody, if I have Sticky Web up for good, I'm pretty sure that Lycanroc will outspeed everything on his team. That's not Scarfed, at least. Scarf Tapu Koko and Scarf Rabombi, which I doubt there would ever be a Scarf Rabombi because Rabombi needs to set up, but let's just, for sake of argument, say Scarf Tapu Koko and Scarf Rabombi, I think, are the only ones who can still outspeed Lycanroc after a Sticky Web. So, even the other Pokemon, the other Pokemon are naturally slower than me, so even if they're Scarfed, the Sticky Web would basically get rid of the Scarf. So, Lycanroc outspeeds a lot, so I could get a Swords Dance up, a guaranteed Swords Dance, and I could pretty much abuse Drill Run. Again, there's like, what, there's 2 ground immunities on his team in the Togekiss and the Rotom, so depending on the situation though, I could run Drill Run, and it's a 2-hit KO for Nidoqueen, a defensive Nidoqueen, but if I have the Swords Dance up, it'll be a 1-shot, so that could be a good answer to that. I haven't done the calcs on, well, I'm sure it will one-shot Tapu Koko. In fact, an unboosted one might even one-shot Tapu Koko. Let's see. Swords Dance and Excel Rock would do a lot of damage as well. A +2 Excel Rock on a high roll will one-shot the Togekiss. So if I have rocks up, again, that's where that chip damage will come in handy, making those iffy, those ones where it comes to a roll, turn it into a guaranteed one-hit KO. I can two-hit KO Rotom Heat, a defensive build on Rotom Heat with Excel Rock. Drill Run, okay, Drill Run +2, if it's a defensive Nidoqueen, a physically defensive Nidoqueen, I can, with a high roll, one-hit KO the Nidoqueen. If it's not max defense, I have a chance to one-shot it. It can one-shot the Tentacruel, and then a +2 Stone Edge, which I do have to worry about it missing, but a +2 Stone Edge can one-shot the Rotom Heat. I'm pretty sure it can. Oh yeah, it will definitely one hit the Togekiss, because in fact an unboosted Stone Edge has a small chance on a high roll to one-hit KO the Togekiss, so +2 will definitely. And Excel Rock has a very high chance to one-hit KO Rabombi not boosted, so there's Rabombi for you. And I guess that about does it. Lycanroc has that hard-hitting Drill Run too, which let me check something, because I don't know Drill Run very well. It is not 100% accurate, so I have to keep that in mind. I get the hacks. Excel Rock is my only guaranteed move here, so if I can just go and get a Swords Dance up and spam Excel Rock, that would be fine as well. I have to do the rest of the calcs though and see how it does against Tapu Koko, because I need to have plans in place for Tapu Koko. But if Tapu Koko is not Scarfed, which I feel like Scarfed Tapu Koko is not very common because Tapu Koko usually outspeeds everything. If I have webs up and Tapu Koko isn't Scarfed, then I am pretty, like, Lycanroc's a pretty solid answer to it. Yeah, Lycanroc kind of covers my other bases. But anyway, this is my team. The only thing I'm going back and forth on a little bit is the choice of the type on Silvally. I'm still fairly certain that I want to keep the Steel type, but again, I was mainly doing that calculation based on having to face Mega Gardevoir, and I have better answers for Mega Gardevoir, whether it's, I could either get the Stealth Rock up, I could get, the Throat Chop thing, which I think is a really solid answer. But if I get the Stealth Rock and then a Sludge Wave, or if I get, but then again, if I get the Webs and I have Steel type Silvally, then I don't know. But if I have Webs and Rock, then I can run Ground type Silvally with Iron Head, Outspeed, and yeah, I don't know. Those options, but those are the only, that's the only thing I'm going a little back and forth on. So if when you see the battle video and Silvally is now ground type, now you know why, but I don't know. I'm gonna do my calcs on that, and I'll get back to you on that. Anyway, guys, that's gonna do it. I've gone a little bit longer than I planned. What else is new? You guys expect that from me, but I went through the whole sort of explanation of what I'm trying to do. So, as of right now, depending on what he brings, my most likely leads are either Galvantula or maybe Mega Absol, but I think Galvantula is a little bit of the safer lead, so that I can try to get my webs up for sure. And then, of course, I have to keep them up. But there's only two things. I mean, well, Tapu Koko might get Defog as well, but I don't know what the odds are that he would put Defog on Tapu Koko if it can learn it. Anyway, this is my team. Only Silvally might change significantly. But yeah, if you guys are hyped for the Week 1 battle of the PGBL, go ahead and show some love to the like button down below. Go ahead and leave a comment and subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon for our Week 1 battle, Orlando Solgaleo versus the Camden Ursarings. See you then.